What is the shadow? And how do you know there is a light to lead you out? The answer to that lies in the very existence of the shadow itself, for there can be no shadow without light. What's up, my EFF? Let me tell you how it is. You're listening to Jots, a podcast that explores the nature of love, compassion, joy, and the real-life connection between human beings. I'm Ender Bowen, Nashville, Tennessee rock pop artist, author, husband, father, complete dork, and aspiring compassionist. Sit back, relax, and be prepared to laugh, cry, maybe even shake your fist at the moon for some reason. 2020. It certainly seemed like we were living in dark times, didn't it? I mean, the COVID pandemic at one point, it didn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. Violence in our cities was on the rise. People had lost jobs and entire livelihoods and lives. Many lost loved ones. No one knew which end was up, when it would all be over, and who to trust and who might lead us through it. The ongoing uncertainty really only heightened our sense of fear, spreading through our homes and communities quicker than any virus ever could. Our preferred media sources terrified us for ratings while somehow confirming our own biases. That actually hasn't changed. Even now, people in power continue to pit us against each other merely for the prospect of more power. Meanwhile, if you don't catch it on the news, you see it on social media. Insults, not just to intelligence, but to whole lives. Blame, dishonesty, anger, hate. I'm sure you remember some of this. Wear a mask, you selfish jerk. Don't wear a mask, you hapless sheep. Bugger off with your Snyder Cut, nerd. I try to stay above it all. I mean, I was dying for the Snyder Cut, and I really did enjoy it. Anyway, I'm sure you try to stay above it all too, but now and then we succumb, and we're drawn in. It's as if we're not only walking through the shadow of death, but we don't even know where the light is to lead us out. Worse, is there one? Psalm 23 verse 4 says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Traditionally, we take this to mean that God is alongside us, that we must have faith even during our darkest moments, and that those dark moments are part of the human experience. We all walk through the valley more than once in our lifetimes. But what is that shadow? How do you know God is there? The answer to that lies in the very existence of the shadow itself, for there can be no shadow without light. The shadow cannot exist without the light. It wouldn't even be there if the light wasn't. That means that if there's a shadow, you know that the light still exists. It telegraphs that for you. It even shows you by its placement and angle where to find the light. So the very thing that's trying to destroy you, terrify you, depress you, ruin you, it's so helpless that it can't even keep from showing you exactly how to escape from it. It straight up points the way to your salvation. The shadow may try to block out the light, may even take what's coming from the light and try to distort it, turn it into something else, but ultimately, it is completely under the light's power. It absolutely depends on it. The shadow is so powerless that it doesn't even have the ability to stay put. As the light moves, the shadow is under the light's command to move as well. So even if you stayed in that one place, the light would find you. The shadow would be chased away. Fear, terror, darkness, they have no power over you. The shadow has no power over anything, only that which you give it by following the shadow as it moves. When all is said and done, the shadow doesn't have the power to keep you there. Is that really what you'd want anyway? Sure, from time to time, the shade of a tree may give you a break from the heat, but it doesn't give you life. You cannot live your life in fear any more than you could live your life in the shadow. It's rare to find good news on television these days. I mean, that's as true now as it was during the pandemic. And when I looked at social media then, maybe even a little bit now, most of what I see is people fighting over COVID stats or why we should wear masks or should not wear masks or whose fault this or that is. And it's always said hatefully. I don't ever see much healthy, respectful discourse on any of these matters. It's always about who's right. It's always about who's smarter or better. It's always about showing everyone how wonderful and virtuous we are. Does that sound like narcissism to you too? Meanwhile, where are the posts about love? Where are the news stories about joy and compassion? Where are the messages of hope intended to lift each other up? Well, look, I promise you, they exist. The problem is that most of us right now, as much as we were then, are in the shadow of a giant mountain. The light is having a hard time getting through. But it's most certainly there, and it's bigger than the shadow. We just haven't gotten up and moved. We're too scared to right now. We were too scared to then. And the light hasn't quite risen enough to nullify it, has it? Well, maybe it could use our help. So be the light. Put that light into the world. Raise that light so that the shadow gets chased away. If you're afraid, if you're feeling times are dark, it's not just because of what you're seeing and reading and watching. It's what you are saying, doing, and posting on social media. Resist the urge to be the shadow. Be the joy, the hope, the love, and the compassion of the world. While you'll never completely vanquish the shadow, remember that you're not supposed to. That's not the point. The shadow will always be there in varying sizes and shapes. You're supposed to walk through it from time to time. You're supposed to overcome it, become stronger because of it. But much like the movement of the sun during the day, the light will rise up. And it will not only reveal what was hidden in the shadow, it will illuminate the path for everyone who seeks to escape it. All right, now it's your turn. When in your life have you felt completely overcome by or powerless to do anything about the shadow? What was that experience like? Did you get through it? If so, how? In consideration of what I've said previously, if you were to have this experience again, do you think you'd be able to flip the script, so to speak, and move through that experience with the knowledge that the shadow has absolutely no power over you? In what ways do you think you could resist the shadow and be an example of the light moving through the world? How can you be the light for other people currently struggling in the shadow? I invite you to share your thoughts with me via email, ender@enderbowen.com, or you can go to enderbowen.com/Discord to learn how you can share your thoughts with the growing Ender Bowen community. I would love for you to share your thoughts about this episode with my growing community of aspiring compassionists. Find out how to join us on Discord by going to enderbowen.com/Discord. Look how easy I made that. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the Jots podcast on your favorite podcast streaming service. You can also check out more Jots, as well as subscribe to the mail list for ebooks, updates, and exclusive content at godjots.com. Until next time, be honest with yourself, be truthful with others, give people the opportunity to surprise you, and remember that it's impossible to have absolutely nothing in common with another human being. Be a little light in the world. I'm sure I'll see you soon.